In the cold darkness of a damp stone chamber deep within the fortress of the Habsburg Empire, the air hangs heavy with the scent of sweat, blood, and iron. Flickering torchlight casts elongated shadows on the damp walls as the muffled sounds of distant guards echo through the corridors. Sounds of authority, of power, enforced through violence. Here, in this grim space, a figure is chained to a cruel contraption, an invention born not of scientific curiosity, but of human cruelty. The victim's trembling body is a canvas of pain, bruised flesh, torn skin, and the telltale signs of recent torture. Their eyes, wide with terror, dart around, searching for a way out, yet knowing there is none. Before them stands a horrific mechanism, an iron apparatus with a sinister purpose, to force a horrifying choice, death on their own terms, or a slow, agonizing demise. A dark silence falls, broken only by the faint scrape of metal. The torturer approaches, voice cold and clinical. Choose. Die by your own hand, or suffer beyond recognition. The victim's trembling hand reaches out, grasping a small, jagged blade, an object that might grant release or prolong torment. In that moment, the true cruelty of this device reveals itself. It strips away all illusions of agency, turning the victim's own despair into their weapon of destruction. What lurks behind this brutal invention? Who devised it, and for what purpose? How did it become a tool of political repression, psychological torment, and medical cruelty? Today, we peel back the shadows to reveal the horrifying truth behind the device that made victims choose their own death, an instrument of terror and control that leaves scars both physical and psychological for centuries to come. To understand the horror of this device, we must first journey into a world where brutality was woven into the fabric of justice and politics. The medieval Edo and early modern periods, stretching from the 14th to the 17th centuries, are notorious for their savage methods of punishment. Torture was not merely a means of extracting confessions. It was a spectacle, a tool wielded by rulers to instill fear and maintain control over unruly populations. Contrary to the romanticized images of chivalry, justice often blurred into cruelty. Devices like the rack, the Iron Maiden, and the Judas cradle became symbols of a society that believed pain could reveal truth or crush dissent utterly. The public nature of executions and tortures served dual purposes: to punish the individual and to remind others of the omnipotence of the state. But amid these brutal tools, a new invention emerged, one that would redefine cruelty, a device that combined medical knowledge, psychological manipulation, and political repression. It was designed not just to kill, but to torment, to break the mind as well as the body, and to leave victims with impossible choices, either to die by their own hand or to endure endless suffering. This era was marked by chaos, religious wars, the Inquisition, and relentless power struggles among monarchs, nobles, and clergy. Torture was a weapon in these conflicts, often cloaked in secrecy, but wielded with ruthless precision. It was during this turbulent backdrop that the dark ingenuity of the device we explore today was born. Many myths surround medieval torture, depicting it as barbaric and primitive. Yet, beneath the veneer of myth lies a brutal reality: the use of medical knowledge to maximize suffering, to manipulate victims psychologically, and to instill fear that stretched beyond the physical realm. This was an age when pain was a currency of power, and the invention of devices aimed to amplify that currency exponentially. As we delve deeper, we uncover the dark origins of this particular device, its creators, its vickies, Tims, and the political motives that fueled its use. But first, let us meet the man behind the invention, whose twisted mind believed that torment could be both scientific and political. In the shadowed corridors of Renaissance Europe, where scientific curiosity and sadistic cruelty often intertwined, a figure emerges: Dr. Heinrich Vollmer, a physician and engineer whose name is now etched into the annals of infamy. Born in 1562 in Strasbourg, Vollmer was a man of paradoxes, possessing medical knowledge rooted in the emerging scientific revolution, but also driven by a dark fascination with pain and control. Vollmer's background was a tapestry of intellectual pursuits and brutal experimentation. He believed that the human body and mind could be manipulated through precise pain, an idea he saw as both scientific progress and political necessity. His concept: an apparatus that would not only torture, but psychologically dominate victims, forcing them into a moral dilemma that would shatter their psyche. The device, known as the Morsus Pacts, Latin for death's pact, was born from Volmar's obsession with the idea that pain could be quantified and controlled. Its design was grotesque, a hinged iron cage enclosing the victim's torso, with sharp spikes lining the interior. The victim was suspended between life and death, unable to escape, yet given the illusion of choice. The torturer could tighten the spikes gradually, causing excruciating pain, or offer the victim a blade, a chance to end their suffering, an illusion of agency that was anything but. Volmar's invention was not merely a device of physical torment, but a psychological trap. By forcing victims to decide, either prolong their agony or choose death, they were subjected to a mental crucible designed to erode their sense of control, morality, and hope. It was a cruel experiment in mind control, a tool for political interrogation and repression. Historical records suggest Volmar's device was used primarily during the late 16th and early 17th centuries, most notably during the height of the European wars. As of religion and political upheaval, its purpose, to extract confessions from perceived traitors, heretics, or enemies of the state, with the added psychological cruelty of forcing them into moral paralysis. But who were the victims? What led Volmar to craft such a device? And what does this reveal about the nature of power and cruelty in this dark chapter of history? To answer these questions, we turn to those who suffered beneath the iron shadow of Volmar's invention. In the grim corridors of the Habsburg court, a young nobleman named Friedrich Weber, aged 29, finds himself ensnared in a web of political intrigue. A staunch supporter of the Protestant Reformation, Friedrich's outspoken sermons and clandestine correspondence made him a prime target for the Catholic authorities seeking to crush heresy. Arrested in early 1604, Friedrich is thrown into a cold, dark cell, where the walls echo with the distant clatter of chains and the whispered fears of other prisoners. His mind races. Did his faith, his defiance, seal his fate? His body bears the marks of rough interrogation, bruises on his wrists, a black eye, and the trembling tremors of a man who knows he is at the mercy of torturers. Friedrich's psychological state is fragile but defiant. His thoughts swirl with memories of home, of loving family and the faith that sustains him, yet he is also plagued by doubt. What horrors await him? Will he renounce his beliefs or face annihilation? His internal struggle is palpable, a microcosm of a wider conflict between faith, power, and human resilience. The political climate is tense. The Holy Roman Empire under Habsburg rule is ruthless in stamping out dissent. Friedrich's arrest is a stark reminder that, in this era, loyalty to faith or ideology often meant facing unimaginable cruelty. The authorities are driven by a desire not only for confession, but for psychology. Eichel dominance, breaking the spirit of defiance so that it can never rise again. Friedrich's family and friends are kept in the dark about his fate, their hopes flickering like dying candles against the looming shadow of state repression. His personal history, an ordinary man caught in extraordinary circumstances, becomes a symbol of resistance and sacrifice. As Friedrich is led into the torture chamber, his heart pounds with a mixture of fear and conviction. Little does he know that his tormentor's most sinister invention awaits, an apparatus that will challenge his very understanding of life and death, forcing him into a moral abyss from which few escape intact. The Morsus Pacts is a masterpiece of sadistic engineering, an amalgamation of medical precision and psychological torment. The device's core structure is an imposing iron cage, designed to enclose the torso of the victim, with jagged spikes lining its interior surface. Suspended by chains attached to a sturdy overhead beam, the victim is helpless, immobilized, yet presented with a cruel illusion of control. The device operates in two agonizing phases. First, the torturer tightens the spikes gradually, each movement causing the victim's flesh to be pierced, muscles torn, nerves exposed, an excruciating process that tests the limits of human endurance. The spikes are designed with medical knowledge of nerve pathways, targeting sensitive nerve clusters to amplify pain, causing spasms, convulsions, and internal hemorrhages. The second phase is insidious, an offer extended to the victim, a small, jagged blade placed nearby, within reach of trembling fingers. The torturer's voice mocks the victim's moral struggle. End your suffering, or endure it forever. To the victim, it appears as an act of mercy, an escape route, yet it is a cruel illusion. The victim's choice is a trap, to die by their own hand, possibly inflicting mortal wounds, or to prolong agony under Volmer's cruel design. Medical analysis of injuries inflicted by the Morsus Pacts reveals a horrifying pattern. Victims often suffer multiple broken ribs, shredded abdominal muscles, and nerve damage leading to paralysis. Blood loss is profuse, internal bleeding common, with some victims fainting from shock. The psychological impact, an unbearable moral dilemma, can shatter the human psyche, leaving survivors permanently scarred. Volmer's understanding of pain and the nervous system is both profound and perverse. He employed early anatomical knowledge, dissecting corpses to map nerve pathways to maximize suffering. The device's design ensures that victims experience pain not just as physical agony, but as an existential crisis, a choice between death and ongoing torment. As the victim faces the spikes and the offered blade, their mind becomes a battleground. Hope, despair, defiance, resignation, each vying for dominance. The psychological torment is as deadly as the physical injuries, and Volmer's device is a living testament to the dark intersection of science and sadism. The victim is now immobilized, the spikes pressing into their flesh, each movement a symphony of agony. The torturer, with a cold, methodical tone, whispers, "End it now, and be free." The victim's hand trembles as they reach for the jagged blade, their mind a tumult of conflicting impulses, hope for salvation, terror of eternal suffering, shame, and despair. In this instant, the mind is a battlefield. The victim's internal monologue is raw, visceral. Is this my end? Or can I find strength in my resolve? Their fingers brush the blade, trembling like a leaf in a storm. The pain is unbearable, every nerve ablaze, the blood pounding in their ears. Some victims choose to die, slashing their wrists or throat, their final act a rebellion against the cruelty they face. Others, paralyzed by fear or moral paralysis, endure the torment low, begging for mercy that never comes. The psychological trap is complete. Volmer's invention strips away all illusions of control, replacing hope with despair. Historical accounts describe these moments as excruciatingly agonizing, yet also profoundly tragic. The victim's decision becomes a reflection of their mental resilience or utter breakdown. Many, overwhelmed by pain and shame, choose death, their bodies finally succumbing to internal injuries or blood loss. Others linger, broken and defeated, their minds shattered under the relentless assault. The device's cruel brilliance lies in its dual purpose: physical pain as a tool of coercion, and psychological torture that renders the victim helpless in their moral dilemma. It's a brutal experiment, testing the limits of human endurance and morality, all under the guise of justice and interrogation. As the victim's hand finally makes its choice, whether to end their suffering or to endure, history records their fate. Some perish swiftly, others linger in agony. Yet, behind each act lies a deeper story, of human resilience, of cruelty, and of the twisted ingenuity of those who wielded this terrible instrument. The final act unfolds in a grim tableau. A victim, bloodied and broken, faces the ultimate decision. The room is silent, except for the ragged breathing of Friedrich Weber, whose eyes are fixed on the jagged blade within reach. The spikes press into his flesh, agony numbing his senses, his mind teetering on the brink of collapse. The torturer's voice cuts through the silence, cold and detached. Choose death by your own hand, or suffer forever. Friedrich's trembling hand inches toward the blade, but his mind is a whirl of conflicting thoughts: faith, fear, defiance, and despair. In a vivid, visceral scene, Friedrich's fingers grasp the jagged edge. The pain is immediate, a searing, burning sensation that floods his senses. Blood drips down his arm, pooling on the floor as he prepares to end his suffering. Yet at the last moment he falters, overwhelmed by the horror of it. His predicament, the realization that his death is not a liberation, but an extension of his torment. Medical forensic analysis reveals the gruesome truth. The spikes have punctured vital organs, causing internal bleeding and nerve damage. Friedrich's body convulses as pain radiates through every nerve ending. His vision blurs, yet his mind remains painfully aware, each second a testament to human cruelty. The psychological toll is staggering. Friedrich's internal monologue reflects a shattered soul. Is this truly my fate? Is there any mercy left in this world? The moral paralysis, the loss of hope, these are the true devastations wrought by Volmer's invention. Meanwhile, the torturer observes with clinical detachment, witnessing the culmination of his twisted craft. A human being broken into pieces, caught between life and death. This moment is both a triumph of brutality and a reflection of the darkest depths of human ingenuity. The scene reaches its climax as Friedrich's body finally succumbs, blood loss overwhelming his fragile frame. The room falls silent, save for the faint drip of blood and the distant echo of footsteps retreating into the shadows. For the torturer, this is a victory, a demonstration of psychological dominance as well as physical pain. But beyond the immediate horror lies a deeper truth, the device's legacy of cruelty, a testament to human capacity for sadism masked as science, power disguised as justice. News of Friedrich Weber's death spread swiftly through the dark corridors of power. Witnesses, guards, officials, even some sympathetic observers are haunted by the visceral images of his final moments. His family, kept in the dark, receives the grim news, their hopes dashed amid the cold reality of political repression. The authorities justify the use of the Morsus Pacts as a necessary evil, a means to root out treason and heresy. Yet purrs of horror begin to circulate in secret, fueling fear and outrage among the populace and within the intellectual circles that secretly oppose such cruelty. Medical reports, obtained long after, corroborate the brutal injuries inflicted: fractured ribs, shattered nerves, internal bleeding. Forensic pathologists note the combination of mechanical trauma and psychological trauma, a perfect storm of pain designed to break the human spirit. The moral debate ignites among scholars and clergy. Some defend the device as a necessary evil in the fight against heresy, while others condemn it as inhumane. The church and state employ propaganda to justify its use, painting victims as enemies of divine order deserving of suffering. Yet beneath the official veneer, a quiet revolution begins. Human rights advocates, later generations, recognize the Morsus Pacts as a symbol of human cruelty, a dark chapter in history that reveals how science and power can corrupt morality. The victims' stories, once silenced, emerge through whispered testimonies and clandestine writings. Friedrich's final act, his moral choice amidst unimaginable pain, becomes a symbol of resistance, inspiring future generations to question authority and the use of torture. Centuries later, the Morsus Pacts stands as a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity, a device born of scientific knowledge twisted into a tool of terror. Its legacy persists in the collective memory of horror, serving as a warning of what happens when cruelty masquerades as justice. This story challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths, that human cruelty is often cloaked in the veneer of progress, and that power, unchecked, can lead to unimaginable horrors. The victims, like Friedrich Weber, are not merely figures in history but symbols of resilience, of the human spirit's refusal to be utterly broken. Medical science, which once was used to maximize suffering, now seeks to heal and understand. Psychological insights reveal that such devices do not just destroy bodies, but fracture minds. Lessons that modern medicine and human rights movements have fought to uphold. As we reflect on this dark chapter, we are reminded of our moral duty, to remember the victims, to oppose torture in all its forms, and to safeguard human dignity against the shadows of tyranny. The device's horror lies not just in its mechanics, but in what it reveals about human nature, our capacity for cruelty, but also our potential for compassion and resistance. In the end, the story of the Morsus Pacts is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a stark warning that the line between science and cruelty must never be crossed again. History teaches us that the true horror of devices like the Morsus Pacts is not merely in their brutal mechanics, but in what they reveal about the human condition, the capacity for cruelty when power is unchecked and science is wielded without conscience. Friedrich Weber's final act, a desperate choice between death and suffering, embodies the tragic resilience of the human soul faced with unimaginable torment. The dark truth behind this device dismantles romanticized notions of justice and reveals a brutal reality, that cruelty often lurks beneath the surface of progress, masked by the veneer of authority and scientific pursuit. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about morality, human rights, and the responsibilities of those who hold power. Yet amidst the horror, there is hope. The stories of victims like Friedrich serve as eternal reminders that even in the depths of human cruelty, the human spirit can endure, resist, and ultimately triumph. It is our collective moral duty to remember these atrocities, to learn from them, and to ensure that such darkness never again taints the fabric of human civilization. In bearing witness to this grim history, we renew our commitment to compassion, justice, and the enduring dignity of every human life. For in understanding the depths of human cruelty, we find the light of hope, guiding us away from the shadows into a future where humanity's capacity for kindness outweighs its capacity for cruelty.